The Disappearing of Isaac Cain. It has been 242 days since Isaac Cain went missing. It has been 2 days since I saw him last. Isaac was one of the nicest kids I ever knew, and to be honest, he was my only real friend. I wasn't really that weird, at least I think. I'm just saying that most of the time, I would rather have sat at home and played video games by myself than hang out with friends. But I know I was Isaac's only friend. I first met Isaac during 7th grade, on my school's after-school baseball team. Isaac didn't like baseball at all, and I think his parents forced him into it. Most games, he would just sit in the outfield and pick at the grass, or just sit on his knees. Most of the kids laughed at him, but I just felt bad because I knew he didn't want to be doing it. We became friends after I started talking to him during warm-ups, and when I saw him in the hallway at school. Through these short hallway conversations, we quickly became friends through conversations about video games and the Spanish class we had together. I didn't talk to him during the class because the teacher, Mr. Teach, was very strict about talking during his class. He always made the same joke about his name, but that's besides the point. I frequently went over to Isaac's house so we could play games and talk about life together. It was like clockwork. After school on most days, I would go to his house, hang out for a bit, and then leave at 9. I think my parents were missing me, but I also think they appreciated me being out of the house, so they could have time alone. After going over to Isaac's house almost every day for the next 5 years, not much changed. He occasionally acted flustered, but I just assumed it was from the pressure of high school. And that takes us to 243 days ago. It was a Monday, and I went to Isaac's house like always after school. Isaac's mom greeted me like usual. I would be lying if I said there was anything interesting about Isaac's parents. They were normal people that were maybe just a little hard on Isaac. I walked into Isaac's room to see him hunched over his desk, whispering words to himself rigorously. "What the hell are you doing?" I jokingly asked. "Nothing," he replied, quickly jumping up and walking over to me. "Listen, Carter, you need to leave right now." He shoved me out of his room and slammed the door. I didn't know what to think. I turned around and started making my way to his front door. I just assumed he was trying to study for something, and he was stressed. Our finals were coming up, and I knew that Isaac had been studying profusely. Isaac's mom didn't notice me walk out the door, and I got into my car and drove home. It felt weird being home for the afternoon. I just sat and watched TV, hoping that Isaac would be okay with me coming over the next day. I hadn't even thought too hard about what happened that day, until my head hit my pillow. Why would he be so secretive about something he was studying? Nothing was adding up. Isaac wasn't at school the next day. I figured he was trying to get some more studying time to himself. In all of our classes, it was all free time because our finals were the next week, and studying was up to us. However, after school, I texted Isaac asking him if he was okay to come over, receiving no response. I didn't want to be rude, so I stayed home and watched TV again. At about 9 o'clock, I got a text from Isaac. "Hey Carter, it's Isaac's mom. I'm assuming Isaac is over at your house. So if you could tell him that he left his phone here, so he doesn't worry that he lost it, that would be great." I was extremely confused. Where else would Isaac be? It's not like he had any other friends, and he didn't have a car to drive himself anywhere. I responded quickly. "Hey, Mrs. Cain, Isaac isn't over at my house right now. Are you sure he isn't home?" She replied after a minute. "I am sure. I'm starting to get a little worried. Please text me if he arrives at your house or you see him somewhere." "I never saw him." A funeral was held for Isaac after 3 months of him being missing. I tried not to cry, but I couldn't help myself. He was a really great person and a great friend. The days were lonely without him. I decided to wait to start college, so I had lots of time on my hands. Most days, I would just sit on my computer, or sit quietly outside by myself on my front porch. That's when the first sighting happened. I didn't know what to think at first. I had tried to explain to my mom that I had been seeing Isaac leaning against the wall of a building as I returned from a walk I took one night to relax. I explained that as I approached him, muttering, "Isaac?" he quickly turned and walked into an alley between the building he was leaning on and the ice cream shop next door. I was scared and confused, so I opted not to follow him into the alley. Besides, everyone in town knew what Isaac looked like, and there was other people walking around. If they did see him, he would have been found already. My mom hugged me and said, "I know you miss him, hon," then walked away. I had forgotten about the sighting completely, until exactly 1 week later, when I spotted Isaac staring up at my house, out of my bedroom window. He beckoned for me to come down, and my heart started to beat fast. I rubbed my eyes, and when I looked back down, there was no sign of anyone around. Every single week after that, I would see Isaac somewhere, whether it was in the neighbor's window or in a passing car. I always saw him. I had tried to convince myself that I was okay, and I had to live with fake sightings of my dead best friend. What was unsettling about the sightings was that Isaac always seemed like he wanted me to follow him, whether that was by gesture, or a look that screamed, "Come on!" or turning and walking, like he was expecting me to follow. And the worst is what happened 2 days ago. There was a knock at the door, and when I answered, there was Isaac. He was holding a bag slung over his left shoulder, and was holding an envelope in his right hand. "Carter Fells?" he asked, with a smile. I grabbed the envelope and slammed the door on him. I couldn't deal with seeing Isaac any longer. I ran back up to my room and took a seat on my bed. Upon closer inspection of the envelope, I noticed that there was no stamp and no return address. I ripped open the envelope, pulling out a piece of white paper. I started to read. "Carter, you have to listen. I don't have much time to explain where I am, so I must make this brief. If you have been seeing a person, you know a little more than you would expect in some weird places. Please ignore them at all costs. If they try to get you to follow them, run in the opposite direction as far as you can. I ran into him the night I kicked you out of my house. I was stressed about the finals coming up, and was trying to recite the Spanish sentences I needed to remember. I felt bad for kicking you out, so I thought I would walk to your house to apologize. I saw what looked like you ahead of me on the sidewalk, and was given the motion to follow. After that moment, it's a blur. He is the one who has kept me here, and he will do the same to you. He takes the form of the person you love the most, in order to win your heart. I told him what I wanted to write in a letter to someone, making it look like a suicide note, so there could be an end to the mystery of how I died. He was okay with it, which surprised me. He may have just a little empathy in him. There's no way he can read the message, as he can't speak English. We communicate a different way. Be careful, and don't worry about me. We'll meet again one day. Isaac. I felt my heart stop. I felt as though I was going to pass out. Was this some sort of sick joke? No. It couldn't be. How would anyone know about my sightings of Isaac? That was 2 days ago, and it's just now hitting me. I'm gonna have to live with this for the rest of my life. Although I don't know how much longer my life may be, because I'm sure it's only a matter of time before he starts coming towards me. if you're having a pleasant experience, be sure to subscribe and like the video. It'll help me to grow and reach a larger audience. Thank you.